Hello, children, and welcome to Standard 6th. Children, you all love to listen to stories, especially the ones that tickle your bones. Most of us grew up listening to the famous stories of Akbar and Birbal, which are extremely popular in India. There are many examples where Birbal used his intelligence to calm Emperor Akbar and amuse him at the same time. So let's begin with chapter number 2, Who's the Greatest? Page number 2. Emperor Akbar or Akbar the Great is known as one of the greatest rulers in the world, not just because he had a vast empire, a very strong army, untold wealth, but because he was a good human being. Girls, very clearly it is said that Emperor Akbar, though he had a very large empire, a very strong army, lot of money, lot of property, but besides all that, he was a very, very good person. He cared for his subjects. Here it means that he cared for the people of his kingdom. He also had great respect for scholars, writers, poets and artists belonging to different religion. He was a patron of art and culture. He appreciated art and culture and therefore he donated money. The 9 gems or Navratnas in his court were famous. So he had intelligent people in his court and they were called the 9 gems or the Navratnas. Okay, now example like Tansen, who was a great singer in the court of Emperor Akbar. Many people believe that of these 9 gems, Birbal was the closest to the emperor's heart. And we all know that Emperor Akbar loved Birbal very much. Akbar loved to pose interesting questions or problems in his court, and Birbal never failed to come up with an equally interesting answer. Now you all know, no girls, Akbar, whatever questions, however difficult questions he would put up in the court, Birbal always had an answer to it. We don't know whether all the Akbar and Birbal stories that we hear today have any basis in history. They have been handed down over generations, mainly by word of mouth. Let's see the 2 stories in this chapter. One day, the emperor entered the court with a very serious expression on his face. He was seated and then he put up a question. He said, I have a question for all of you. What should be the punishment for someone who pulls my mustache? Now, Emperor Akbar had a question. He said, what should be the punishment for someone who would pull his mustache? The court was stunned. All the courtiers sitting in the court, they were all very shocked. Pull the emperor's mustache. It was unheard of. All the courtiers didn't know what to say. So one of the noblemen said, flog him. Give him 50 lashes of the whip. The nobleman said, take a stick and beat him. And how many lashes? 50 lashes. That's not enough. Put him in jail without food and water, said another nobleman. So the second nobleman is saying, 50 lashes is not going to do anything good. But you need to put that man who pulls the emperor's mustache, you need to put that man into the jail without giving him any food or water. Whip him, beat him, hang him, cut off his offending hands. The agitated courtiers began to cry out. All those courtiers who were so very angry, they said, whoever pulls Emperor Akbar's mustache should be whipped, and you need to cut off his hands. Now, listening to this, Birbal didn't say a word. He was silent. Instead, he was smiling a little. What do you say, Birbal? What is your opinion? So Emperor Akbar questioned Birbal. Okay, Birbal, to this, what have you to say? In my opinion, O giver of peace to the world, the offender should be given his favorite sweetmeats. What an answer Birbal has given. He has said, O giver of peace to the world, the person who pulls Emperor Akbar's mustache should be given a delicacy made of sugar. Example, candies, cakes. Raja Birbal, are you out of your mind? Give sweet meats for such a grave offense, the courtiers began to say. The courtiers were very angry. They were very upset with Birbal, and they said, you are going to give a delicacy made out of sugar to a person who is going to commit a crime of pulling Emperor Akbar's mustache? Birbal smiled and offered an explanation. See to what Birbal has said now. Yes, who would be so bold to pull the emperor's mustache? Now, Birbal had a very clever answer. He told the courtiers that the only person who can pull Emperor Akbar's mustache is his own grandson, that is Emperor Akbar's grandson. When Akbar heard this, he burst out laughing because that is exactly what had happened in the morning. So now we go to the next half of the story, which is about the challenge Akbar posed to his courtiers, who always gave him false praises and called him greater than the God Almighty. On another occasion, Akbar was relaxing with some of his courtiers. Now, a few of his courtiers felt that this was a good chance to shower praise on the emperor and get some favors from him. The courtiers were very, very smart. They knew that they would give false praises to Emperor Akbar. Emperor Akbar would become happy, and then they would get some kind of support, some kind of help from Emperor Akbar. So they said, come on, let's give him some false praises. So all the courtiers began to compete with each other in praising Akbar. Now let us see what were the false praises. You are the greatest of the kings. You are the greatest of the kings or emperors that ever lived on the earth. You are the greatest of all the people in heaven or earth. You are as great as God Almighty. You are greater than the God Almighty. Now Akbar was no fool. He did not take care for false praises. He stopped the courtiers and he questioned them. Do you all believe so? Akbar was very intelligent. He knew that all the courtiers were praising him falsely, and he said, you know what all that you have said? And they all answered in one voice, yes. So then Emperor Akbar said, okay, now you prove it to me. Tell me at least one thing that I can do, but God Almighty will not be able to do. Otherwise, you will all incur our royal displeasure. You have till tomorrow morning to prove it. So Emperor Akbar said, okay, Tomorrow morning, you all come with the correct answer. Okay? Otherwise, you will have to face the punishment. Akbar then left the place without another look at the courtiers. All the courtiers were in a proper fix. They were all confused. They did not know now what to do. They began to think, and when they could not find a solution, they went directly to Birbal. Now, when Birbal heard their story, he told them, "Courtiers, please do not worry." The next morning, the court was full. Everyone was curious to see what would happen the next. "Well," said the emperor, "have you found a good answer to my question? Or are you ready to leave the court forever?" The next morning, the emperor enters the court. He looks at all the courtiers and he questions them that, "Have you found a good answer to my question?" And next he says, "If you do not give me the correct answer, all of you will have to leave the court forever." Just then, Birbal stepped forward and bowed low. "Please don't be angry with those who think you are the greatest. There's certainly at least one thing that you can do, but the God Almighty cannot." Now Akbar looked at Birbal thoughtfully. "And what is that one thing?" To this, Birbal replied, "When you want to punish someone, you can banish that person. You can throw him out of your kingdom. But God's kingdom extends everywhere. The Almighty cannot banish anyone from His kingdom." What a wise answer Birbal has given. Birbal said that if King Akbar wanted to punish someone, he could send that person away from the country and not allow that person to come back. But when we talk about God, God's kingdom extends everywhere, and God cannot send us away from His kingdom because we are God's children. Now, when Akbar heard this, his face was lit up with a smile. "That was very clever, Birbal," he said, while showing how I have an advantage. "You have also shown that God is greater, and I believe you." So Emperor Akbar was very, very happy, very pleased with Birbal's answer. Akbar was so pleased with the answer that he forgave the courtiers for their stupidity. Now, Emperor Akbar, he was very satisfied, very happy with Birbal's answer, and he finally forgave all the courtiers because of their silly, false praises. And with this, we have seen that Birbal was not only intelligent but always had solution to Akbar's questions. Girls, hope you have all understood the chapter. From this chapter, we have learned that we need to have a wonderful bonding among each other. And remember one thing, that we should never flatter anyone with false praises. Girls, kindly note down the meanings in your notebooks. And here are a few questions which you need to do for homework. Girls, you have to also read at least 5 other Akbar and Birbal stories so that you can share them with your friends once the school begins. That's all for today's class. Thank you and God bless.